Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about Canon's announcement in 2024, the lens announcement. So let's dive deep into it. So what exactly was this announcement? This was the biggest troll announcement I have ever seen. So Canon has opened the RF mount, but here's the deal. RF mount has two categories. While the physical mount is physically same, as in like the physical flange distances and all that jazz and electrical contact pins, all are physically same, but there is two projection area. One projection area is full frame, another is APS-C, a small area inside it. So that small projection area is called RF-S. So that S, they have only opened that, meaning these are the only models as of time of making of this video, as in R7, R10, R100, and if I'm not mistaken, R50. So only basically four models exist, only lenses for these things, not for full frame. Let that be very clear. If you have anything like flagship or high end, it will not work. Most of them are basically full frame, and Canon is like nope. So you have to understand. And in terms of that, what type of lenses would be available? Right now, almost all lenses are most likely to be made, but be mindful, Canon still possesses the right that they're gonna analyze it, meaning they have to approve it. It's not like a open free for all, like yeah, it's open, go and make for it. It's not like that. Canon will look into it. Now of course they may change this revelation if it's too much hassle, or as of now, if you pay attention to the lineup, APS-C lenses are surprisingly lacking. If you compare their APS-C lens lineup in their DSLR era versus this era, they have been quite a lax. The reason for that is like A, cameras are not flying as they used to, and B, this gives them the advantage like, hey, that area is void, fill it up, like make quality prime lenses, quality zoom lenses, basically any lens that Canon directly is not making. So you cannot be just like, oh, Canon is made 70 to 200 f2.8 and we are like, we're gonna make the same lens but cheaper but better. Yeah, no. So Canon will go through lens by lens. And why Canon has done that? Well, mostly for PR, because again, if people are not paying attention, which at this point of TikTok generation nobody is that most people are still saying, literally saying the full line, Canon has opened the RF mount. No, they haven't. No, they haven't. Flat out, fundamentally, no. Because majority of the flagship systems, all of the pro systems, all of the enthusiast systems, all of the full frame system are blocked. So fundamentally, no. This is just a PR, because again, you do not pay attention, you will read the headline and voila. Now you're thinking, I'm going to buy into Canon system, and after buying it, hey, where is the third-party lenses? Yeah, it's not there, especially if you buy full frame. So that's the Canon opening the part of it. It's a good troll move, like very good troll move. So why Canon is doing it? Canon was so bold about it. It's like, we're not going to open it. We're going to be airtight about it. What happened? Well, here's the deal. Red was giving Canon an advantage, because this sort of camera company, they make boatload of money from lenses. So lenses. Now, if you want to make even more boatload of money, you sell cine lenses, because cine lenses are match set generally. They are ludicrously expensive, and people who buy them willingly pay for it. So if you have a good ecosystem where cinema lenses are flying off the shelf, you're good, you're sorted. However, that was not happening. They did had a cinema lineup that did not work out as they were expecting. Heck, younger companies bitch slap this. For example, Red. So they had a partnership with Red. It's like, hey, we're gonna give you RF mount, and all the lenses you can directly, willingly couple with RF system. And slowly they wanted to create a pathway where they can slowly move lenses. The more lenses they sell, the more money they make. So it was like a good compromise. Here's the deal. No company will ever open anything if it does not profit them, especially if they do not have competition requirement for it. They have competition required, meaning other things are beating them. That's why. And be mindful, Red should not be in a position where they are selling to more flagship TV shows, more blockbuster movies, to compare to a company that has been making digital cinema camera for freaking decades. Like, you have to work very hard to find a cinema that is flagship, well known and all that, that is using Canon camera as primary. Because yeah, like Canon 5D Mark II was used in Iron Man 2 for like that F1 crashing scene. They used it as a crash cam. So you could find some Canons, but like if you really want to, like, Sony has a lot. RE is like daddy, and Red again made surprisingly deep inroads in surprisingly young year. Canon is not there. So that was a very good side drift for them. It's like, hey, we want to sell as much lens as possible, as expensive lens as possible. Cinema people do not worry about cost, so they can buy it. And voila, Red allowed them a very good road. That was a good long-term plan. It would have yielded fruit. However, Nikon bitch slapped them. So Nikon's purchase of Red directly means that long-term plan is dead now. Now let this be very clear. Red is already sold. The paperwork is done. Does not mean tomorrow there will be removing RF mount. That will not happen. It's a slow process. So do expect 4 years or maybe 5 years. But do be sure that is gonna happen. Is absolute. Now is it in Red's best interest? Absolutely. Why? Well, if you look into RE ecosystem, many people do not know this, but RE has its own lens lineup and people use that. People love that. So RE not only has lights, it has lenses, it also has cameras. So it has a complete ecosystem. If Red and Nikon actually makes loves to each other, they can be in the same position where it's like, hey, Red camera, awesome. Hey, Red lenses, awesome. So why would Red want to support Canon? Of course, they would try to support the legacy system. It's a bad move to just cut your legacy system. So they would support it, but I do not expect it to for more than 5 years. So that Nikon purchase was like, whoa, you are telling me all the effort that we put into opening our mount itself. Opening lens mount is a different thing. Opening the mount itself, it's like, damn, doing all of that. Yeah, it's not gonna pay off in long term. Yeah, that's the biggest reason why this is happening. And another factual point where Canon cameras are not doing it. Yes, people are buying this. Heck, if I'm not a Red Letter Media uses these. So it's not like nobody is using them, but it's just like for how big of a deal it should be, it's like surprisingly little. Be mindful, like how the heck this happened that this is less popular than this on flagship cinema and flagship TV stores. So that's the whole point. They wanted to sell a lot of cine lenses. Red was a good option, a good long-term plan, but Nikon Tokyo drifted it away, so they are stuck. That's why this happened. Now let's understand the sales part of it. Sales part of it, that Canon cripples their camera and starting to catch up. Meaning, let this very clear. We used to sell around 100 million to 120 million cameras in the early 2010 era, so to say. Now, why the heck it dropped to this much? Well, you might say smartphone. Is it true? Absolutely. But let that be clear. It's too lower. Nobody was expecting this sharp of a drop. The reason why this sharp of a drop happened is because of Canon's cripple hammer, Nikon's refusal. Basically, all camera companies are fundamentally still stuck in 1980, like flat out. Let that be very clear. Till as recent in 2020, there were brand new, expensive flagship camera that did not have proper touchscreen support. Like you still cannot just buy a camera and expect Bluetooth to work. Where it's like, hey, let me plug in Bluetooth earphones and just use it, even though it was invented before before most DSLRs. That's the whole point. Like the camera companies are fundamentally stuck in a passive mindset and they're not upgrading. Like they are ancient technology in terms of usability. People prefer usability over performance all the time. So that literally started to show its effect. It should have been somewhere around, let's say 15 to 20. But the reason why it's not that much is going down and going down faster is simply because they're like, what if we increase the price and still give you garbage? Like I give you a real example which affected me. I have a Canon system. Again, I'm not unsatisfied with it. The only thing that annoys me is twofold. One, it does not have clean HDMI output, meaning I cannot use screen capture and use it as a webcam. It hurts, but okay. It could have been done, but okay. Another thing is 30-minute recording limit. Again, I do not blame Canon for this because again, there was a law at that time in European Union. If you had more than 30-minute recording limit, we're going to charge you as a video camera. That was far more expensive tax bracket. So if you ever wondered how the heck Panasonic did that, yeah, that's why Panasonic was same price as like A7 Mark III. You could have done that, but again, it would have increased your cost. So I do not blame them for the basically cameras 30-minute. I do blame them for a clean HDMI output because again, it was becoming a thing back then, but they were like, nah. People were like, and if I had bought previous model, I would have gotten it by hacking the camera using a firmware hack. It's not possible in this model because again, it has one step above, the SoC was changed, so it does not support it. But I'm like, okay with it, okay. But here's the, I would have bought Canon EOS RP very quickly. It supports the same battery, so I would not have to buy batteries. I have one full frame lens. I would have bought another wide angle lenses and be like happy with it. But here's the, it had so many cripple hammer points. For example, if I wanted to do basically a bit of 4K or something, it would have cropped smaller than this. Basically, my field of view would have been smaller than this puppy, smaller than APS-C. A full frame cropped to a point where they're like, why are you doing this? It's not the SoC point. It's just like, we just want to F it because it's a cheap camera. It has to behave like cheap camera. Imagine doing that again and again and again. Of course, people will be like, you know what? I'm out. And again, you can notice that more and more people are just like, you know what, I'm just using basically mobile phone for shooting, and mobile phones are getting good. So it starts to take effect of it. Like, why I haven't bought another camera? Again, I did wanted to buy. It's like, oh, what if I have mini HDMI in this, which is again not the best port, but second best. And they're like, what if we put micro HDMI, which breaks if you look at it? It's like, you literally worked your ass off to make a worse product. How many times you can do that before people just like, you know what, I'm out? And it happened. So all of it is starting to take an effect. And ironically, year 2023 in Japan was a very unique year, because that's the first year after almost 13 years where year over year they actually went up rather than down. So right now it's a constant decline, but that year was the first year where they're like, oh, we sold a bit more. And basically Canon was not invited. So Nikon and Sony were selling. So if you look at the top 3 sold models, it's Nikon Z8, Nikon ZF, and Sony A7C Mark II. Not Canon. How the heck Canon fell below 3rd ranking? That ranking was reserved for Fuji or Panasonic or Olympus. But it's like, how the heck that happened? Again, that's the whole point. If you keep chipping away at it, it's like, what if we, and again, 30-minute recording limit, again, I would have understood it as like, hey, 1 or 2 model, it was under construction, they did not bother with it. It's like, okay. After that also they did not. Only once they started to lose enough market share, because you can compare this behavior to Sony's behavior. The moment EU laws comes into effect, that removal of that law, Sony was like, they released a APS-C model at that time, no recording limit. Then every camera released after that, no recording limit. I was like, what if it overheats? It overheats, it overheats. It's up to you. But if it's like, we're not going to limit you because there is no reason for it. Then Canon released a camera that was overheating, like RF5, Mark 5 or something. I forgot which 5D, something like that. And DIY Perker did amazing video where he opens it up, puts a copper block there in the SoC, and it works. It does not overheat. There is space for copper block there. I can guarantee you an engineer designed it. Engineer was like, hey, what if we put a copper block here? Of course, no engineer is going to design a part that overheats. They know, like, that's their first job. Make sure this does not melt. Then why the heck it was not implemented? I guarantee you, product manager would have decided it. It's like, no, don't make it actually too good. And again, even and another aspect is DIY Perk, even though they had it, the copper block still had recording limit of 30 minutes. All of these are artificial things. You do enough of it, people slowly starts to drift away. It's like, I'm out. And that's happening. So this should not be possible where Nikon Z8, ZF and Sony A7 Mark II sells more than a Canon system. And cinema lineup again is getting basically bit slapped by these cameras. Kfinity, Zcam. Yeah, let this be very clear. If people, if they need autofocus, they are gonna buy either Sony or they're gonna buy Canon. That is true. That is their saving grace. That's why I said documentary work still relies on a lot of Canon cameras and some Sony cameras. So that is sorted. But cinema, why the heck these camera company can exist? Because people are fed up with it. People are fed up with Sony's basically Canon's offering, and they're like, okay, let me risk a new system. And again, it works. That's why these companies are getting better and better. So fundamentally, their sales volume, again, decline was there, all of the camera companies. And Canon is like, what if we, the customer? It's like, yeah, you keep doing it, at some point customer will just walk away. It's like, my ass hurts. So let's compare this to other things. Let this be very clear. Every camera company cripples third-party lenses. How they do it, that's a different thing, but they will always do it. So that's one of those things. For example, Sony people generally have a very good reputation about this because again, they opened it very early on, and benefit of that is, at the era of when Nikon and Canon released their mirrorless, you could have bought a Sony body and bought a lot of option. That moment you had like 8 years of head start. So it was genuinely good. And right now you can get amazing third-party lenses. So you can get a very low-cost body and very good lens selection for surprisingly low price in Sony ecosystem. People are happy about it. But does that mean Sony has just like open sourced it? No. There is some serious limitation. For example, if you buy the flagship body, then you will notice it. It's like, if you shoot more than 15 FPS, let's say you buy the Sony's global shutter, oh yeah, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna set it to 120 FPS and press the shutter, camera is like, nope, limits it to 15 FPS. So instead of going, you're gonna go, tuck, 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 tuck. That will happen. Again, did people complain about it? No, because it's like, hey, I'm buying a freaking flagship camera, and if I'm affording that much, it's like, I can still use all my lenses. Lenses will not be blocked or stopped. They will work. Everything would be fine. It just would be slower. acceptable trade-off. Another aspect is focus breathing compensation. It's a software trick where lens sends an electrical signal, which is it would be a value most likely, or just maybe a data block, where it's like, okay, this data block, it has a lookup table, it looks up there, and it's just like, okay, zoom in this much and then record the video. Now how can we do that? Well, nowadays all cameras have a bit of oversampling, so it could be 4.6K, 5K, or 6K to 4K, so they can crop in a little bit and still retain pixel to pixel readout, as in like you're not cropping on and then stretching it again. You won't have to worry about that, and then you can get a full optical quality. Now why do we have to have this? Well, here's the deal. You can buy lenses from Sony that does not have focus breathing. Those are expensive AF, generally used for broadcast industry or cinema industry. Those are expensive. So photo camera lenses are much cheaper compared to those industry. That's why we had this compromise. So software compromise was like okay option. So that option is limited. It's like, hey, if you want that option, use Sony system. Again, does that mean your recording would be limited? No, it will not affect. It's just one comfort feature is being removed. Autofocus speed would be a bit slower, not as slow where it's like, whoa, this is like a garbage. No, it's not. That's why Sony is successful. But it will, like, if you put it in a flagship, the refresh rate will give you like, hey, it's just like a bit of lag. You will only know this if you're comparing with flagship. That will be very clear. That's why nobody complains about it. Now, what about Nikon Z-mount? Again, Nikon also did something. Nikon is far more restrictive, where they're like, okay, they will allow any lens manufacturer to make whatever they want. Of course, they will deal with it. And as long as filling the blanks, not competing, meaning Nikon releases 70-200 f2.8, you shall not release it. You can change it. You can have like a different approach. You can go YOLO on it, but you will not release basically 70-200. Why? Because Nikon has it. But if let's say there is a missing unit, missing prime that Nikon is not releasing, then you can release it. So that's how Nikon is dealing. Again, they are also not doing this only APS-C. This weird crop factor is only seen in Canon. And this is the worst cripple of all, because here's the deal. Yeah, these are cripples. Let that be very clear. The fact that Nikon is flat out blocking you to make low cost 70 Holy Trinity lenses. Okay, I get it. It's painful, but okay. What about other primes? You can go YOLO on it. Okay, awesome. Sony does have limitation, but here's the deal. You have to buy a very flagship system to even notice that there are limitations. Okay, not great, not terrible. Canon is like, no, you can only buy APS-C. It's like, why? And then I realized. So this is Canons are trying to do, again, this is another cripple hammer. They are trying to utilize the TikTok generation's short attention span. Everybody's title, and nobody's gonna read the video or watch the video and all that. Read the video, as in like there are AIs that can watch the video and give a text block for you to read. Somehow people are doing it. So in those sort of scenarios, basically it's more of a PR trick to bypass you and just give you a bit of a hint where it's like, oh, I bought a Canon camera, and then you're like, oh, maybe they will release a third-party body. Let me buy it in future. I'll buy it, and they will get stuck in that system. So that's what they are hoping. It's literally very petty. It's very, very petty. It's like, dude, even this design where it's like, hey, if you want to buy Nikon lenses, you have to buy Nikon lenses. As in, like, if Nikon is making that, no other party will make it. But you could still be happy with, especially with primes. You're like, hey, I only deal with primes. I want this prime. You can have fun. Sony, you do not have to worry about it compared to everyone else. So this is very cheap. So this was my presentation on what the hell is happening with Canon in 2024. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free. And as always, thanks for watching.